Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Dee Bowden, and we're going to be talking about probably one of the things that's never talked about. It was never talked about when I set up my company 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
But probably one of the most important things you actually have to do,
Yes.
which is collecting cash.
Yes.
And I don't think hardly anybody talks about it, and I'm so glad that I'm able to talk to you about it, Dee, because it is so important, and we're going to talk about cash flow and things like that.
Sure thing.
So Dee, where can people find you?
Well, good afternoon, Tim, and thank you everybody for joining us. So you can find me at www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book.
And I'm glad that you got the memo about the
About the purple shirts?
purple
I know.
chair, yeah.
Listen, the purple shirts, the short hair, and the glasses. Listen, we are a whole vibe today. Listen, Tim, they don't even know. They don't even know. We are a whole vibe today.
So Dee,
Sure.
you take us back, because you worked for an organization, didn't you? Which is where you started doing stuff in terms of collecting the cash.
Yes.
I think it was something that was new for you, but you hadn't realized how important it was for the business.
You know, it's funny, Tim. It was one of those things. So the story goes like this. So what had happened was about 18 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from.
Yeah.
Tim, you've worked in corporate. I've worked in corporate and with government agencies. You know how it is. Welcome aboard. Here's your cubicle or your office. Here's your box. And I jokingly say, here's your plant. In my case, here was, hey, we have a collections team. We need some help. We've got $8 million in outstanding receivables. And I was like, y'all have what? They're like, yeah, your resume says you know how to collect the cash. So we need you to come in and join this team and help us collect this money. So I get to my cubicle. They give me my list of accounts. And they're like, yeah, the outstanding balance in AR was $8 million. So, right, like you, I'm shaking my head because I'm thinking they got a collections team. And I'm like, all right. So anyway, I get to my account, my desk. I sit down and I'm quiet. I'm like, okay, I know that for $8 million to be outstanding, it's problem solving, customer service, gratitude, and relationship building. So I literally start doing what I do. Get on the phone. Hi, I'm Dee with such and such company. Might speak to person accounts payable, please. And one company said, well, Dee, we changed our billing system. So Tim, get this. So they changed the billing system. And I said, so when did you notify our customers? Oh, we sent out emails months ago. Really? I said, well, unfortunately, we didn't get it. So can you do me a favor and resend the email? So I take the email, go talk to the comptroller, and I said, listen, of the $8 million, $2 million can be collected if we would just reformat these invoices and resubmit them in the new billing system. And she's like, how'd you figure that out? I said, I do problem solving. When people don't pay you, we got to follow the bouncing ball and untangle the issues of what happened was either it was an invoice that wasn't prepared properly. They ordered 10 cents of sneakers. They only got 8. They're missing 2. Unfortunately, people don't like to talk about collections because collections, unfortunately, in business and in life gets a bad rap. But when you're doing order to cash or business to business or business to government, everything is contractual, deliverables, invoicing, payments. They go together. And when you don't address AR, that impacts your cash flow. That means you don't have money to pay yourself. You don't have money to pay your clients or your customers or your vendors. You can't plan for marketing. You can't do all the things. And unfortunately, in my case, so back to the story, I mean, after 60 days, I collect $6 million. And then the unthinkable happened. The CEO says, listen, let's have a chat. Now, Tim, you've worked in corporate. You've probably been in sales. Usually salespeople get great commissions. AR people get bonuses. I thought, okay, I collected my 6. Are we going to come downstairs and we're getting bonus checks because it's 2 months before the holidays? I'm thinking we're going to get a bonus. Early thing. No. The CEO says, listen, thank you so much for what you've done across all the departments. An executive decision's been made. We're closing the company today. And they let all of us go 2 months before Christmas, 100 people. The company does no longer exist. And so, Tim, when you ask me, how did I get here? It's because I'm sure our listening audience, now and in the replay, everybody has had something in life that's jarred them, that's made them go, kind of a Scooby-Doo moment. Well, that was my Scooby-Doo moment because that was my Scooby-Doo moment. Because I'm like, who does this? Well, fast forward, we just watched this on Fleek during COVID. We watched large companies, small businesses scramble. And I thought, okay, nobody talks about AR because basically AR and sales, they go together. I say it this way, collect the cash. The sale It's not complete until the money's in the bank, but you must collect it first. And I believe
Yep.
this: you have to be just as confident to ask for your payments as you were to ask for the customer to be your customer.
Nina says, "Wow, that's crazy." I'm
It
guessing.
is, Nina. It is. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. So collecting the cash is so important, isn't it, for small business? And as you say,
Absolutely.
we never talk about it, even though it is. I mean, it's got to be one of the. I'm thinking as a CEO, it's got to be one of the top 3 things
Absolutely.
I need to sort.
Oh, for sure. And I think the reason that we don't talk about it is because think about it. When you go into business, you're going into business, especially as a small business, you're like, oh man, I have this great idea. I'm gonna solve the next blah 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 blah, whatever it is. But then everybody tells you, especially now, tell you you have to need to do sales, you need to do marketing, you need to be on social media, you need to be doing Facebook Lives and LinkedIn Lives and all the things. But nobody says, so what do you do when a client ghosts you, or what do you do when you've done the work and you're like, oh, I forgot to submit the invoice, or better yet, I submitted my invoice and I haven't gotten paid. And then I'm like, ooh, I don't have the knowledge or the skills or the finesse. How do I talk to this client without upsetting them? The reason people don't talk about this part because they say, oh, if I have to go back and ask my customer to pay me, I'm gonna look bad. And I'm like, this is not about looking bad. This is about, listen, if you have a contract and you had a deliverable, a product or service that you sold them, you invoice them, you need to get paid. And I say it this way: as confident as you were to ask for the business, you have to be just as confident to ask for the payments.
And I think that's really important.
Thank you.
In terms of because actually, we've been in situations where an organization said to us, you've won the business and we're going to issue a purchase order.
Mm-hmm.
And they never did.
Wow.
We've also had people that have signed contracts
Mm-hmm.
and then have never, because the person that was trying to push it through the organization was left the organization, and therefore it was never picked up. So my point being is, as a small business, actually those things have an impact.
Absolutely.
Because even someone says you've won the business and then they never issue a purchase order, it has a cash impact on us. But even when you're actually delivering the service, then it's kind of dirty, isn't it, when you say,
Yeah.
well, can I have some money for this? And because
yeah, and the funny thing is,
because the glory is in sales. Oh, we've signed it and off we go.
Absolutely.
But actually, until the money is in the bank,
right?
Even if you've accepted some payment terms, until the money is in the bank, you're always at risk that they're going to turn around and say, I'm not going to pay you.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that, Tim, because that's where my saying, collect the cash, the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. And that's so true. And I think because like you said, sales is glorified, and as it should be. We understand that. I mean, you and I are both in business, so we get it. Yes, you have to get your sales get celebrated, and it should. I'm of the mindset that sales and AR need to be celebrated. I believe that as much money as you collect, you need to celebrate that as well as you celebrate your sale. And I think the other thing is that, like you said earlier, I heard something when you said that, and I was like, man, my heart just kind of paused, because you said the contract was awarded, but it wasn't executed. So in government terms, that means like basically they award you the contract, but until it says if it says subject to availability of funds, if the funds are not put there, then the contract is null and void. I mean, it's signed, but it's not funded, so you can't do anything. And the same thing with a purchase order. You can issue a purchase order, meaning you can have the number and all the things that's made out to your company, but until they put the funds there, which actually could confirm that you can actually do the work, you can invoice this and get paid, that impacts your cash flow. And I think because most small businesses don't want to rock the boat, they're not going to say anything. But here's the thing: there's a way in which you do it. I mean, obviously, there's just like you built the relationship to get the contract, you have to go back to the person that awarded to you and say, okay, I'd like to have a meeting. Can we review the following things, and then I want to make sure that I'm clear. If you come at this from the approach of I'm offering solutions versus I'm just looking to get my money, because that's I think that's part of the misconception, is that everybody's like, I just want to get paid. I'm like, no. If you offer solutions, that you let your client know, listen, I value you. When I talk about building relationships, you let your client know I value you, and I understand we have a disconnect right now, but I'm here to have this conversation so we can actually talk about what are the problems, how do we get to resolution. Because here's the thing: you want your customer to say, oh my gosh, working with Dee or working with Tim was one of the best experiences ever, and then you want them to go tell their friends, because you Absolutely. Want to get repeat business for sure.
And you And I think that, the thing about accounts receivable is that it isn't talked about.
Right.
Now, you've also said that you've also talked about cash flow, haven't you? In terms of the importance of understanding your cash flow as a leader within business.
Absolutely. And I talk about it this way. I believe that whatever doesn't get tracked doesn't get measured. But when you track it, it gets measured. So I use the term an aging, which most people are like, well, what's that? So I'll make it simple for the audience. So an aging is basically, it's a report that tells you the name of your customer, the contract number, how much it was for. I talk about it this way as a tracking system. Basically, the name of your customer, contract number, the amount of the contract, the invoice number, what do they buy from you, when are you supposed to invoice them, and when are you supposed to get paid. If you know how many customers you have and how many contracts you have, you'll know for the month of June. So since we're in June, for the month of June, you say, okay, I have 5 customers. I have this much money. This much money was awarded to me. I'm going to bill this much. So you will know by on or before June 30th, you should have invoiced and collected X amount of dollars. And when you don't track that, you don't have a system in place, meaning automatic reminders, connecting with your client and say, okay, I submitted my invoice. You want to confirm that you received it. It was issued to the proper department.
Yep.
Is everything okay? And then you're like, oh, you're following up. Absolutely. Because here's the thing, the fortune is always in the follow-up. And that's where people miss it. When you don't follow up, you miss the money.
Yeah, because one of the classic things, isn't it, is that you may issue the invoice to the wrong person.
Yep.
It's not in the right format because they like to have the budget holder, because sometimes what happens is that the invoice comes into finance. Sorry for people. I don't want to bore people, but
no, good. Please, let's talk about it.
The invoice goes into finance, but sometimes they have to send it off to the budget holder to actually sign it and say, I did actually buy these things.
Right.
And then there can be things that are wrong because it might have carriage on it, or the sales tax may be wrong or something like that. And you need to be doing those ahead of time, not waiting for the 30 or the 60 days or whatever when you're expecting the payment for them to say, well, the invoice is all wrong and we haven't got the budget holder to sign it off.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, Tim, because that's one of the things I talk about. I talk about the importance of preparing a proper invoice.
Yeah.
And people are like, are you serious? I'm like, well, listen, Tim and I both have worked in corporate, and I also deal with government agencies. So yeah, proper invoicing is everything. You would be surprised how missing a period, missing a character on the invoice, not submitting the proper backup documents can hold up your whole invoice. And that's the thing. Part of this, what we're talking about today is, we're talking about, 5 tips to collect the cash, but we're also teaching you the importance of problem solving, because when you don't get paid, you have to be an analytical person. You've got to be able to get into the weeds. You've got to get to the why behind the what. And if the what is that you didn't prepare a proper invoice, then it's a phone call, it's an email. Can I have 5 minutes of your time to review this invoice? And what I teach my clients is this: when you have a corporate client or a government client, and they tell you this is the way we want our invoice, I recommend you schedule a call with them and review the invoice. Number one. Number two, you make a template, you make a sample, and you save that bad boy. And that's how you do it every single time. And that way, at least and plus you take good notes and you confirm everything via email. But you want to let them know, listen, I value this relationship, and I want to make sure that this invoice is submitted properly so we can get paid on time. And if you create the template, create the sample, then this is how this particular customer likes it. Follow the steps, do the things. And then if you have a team of people that are doing invoicing, you teach them how to do this, because the relationship that you build with your customer is important. It's not just a sale, it's a delivery, it's invoicing, and it's payments.
So the 5 tips to collect cash, what are your 5 tips then?
My 5 tips are: create a tracking system, number 1. Number 2, ask for the sale. Number 3, I'll make sure I got this right. Oh, set up reminders, for sure. Set up reminders. Number 4, identify the small accounts that you can collect easily. And then 5, make sure you ask for the payment. And the reason I tell you that is that if you create a tracking system, it's kind of like old school. You can either do an Excel, you can do a whiteboard. You know how many clients, how many payments, what's coming in June, July, August. Identify the smallest accounts. You need to know. Some people have, large customers and large balances. Some people have small customers. I believe, number 1, if you identify the small accounts and you collect those quickly, that's a win. And what that win does is it gives you momentum to go deal with the bigger ones. Number 3, set up reminders. we've got beautiful technology. You can set up a reminder on Google, on your phone, or an email to say, okay, when this contract, this invoice is set out, the payments are due this day. And then if it misses, the reminder is set up automatically. Either you as a CEO or somebody on your team, hopefully, is doing the follow-up to say, okay, let me call and find out what's going on. And number 4, make it easy for them to pay you. Make it easy for them to pay you. Make sure that on your invoice you have the remittance information that you wanted to pay you on that. And then the last thing is ask for the payment. A lot of people say, ask for the payment. Yes. Just as I've said it a couple of times, but you, as confident as you were to ask for the sale, you have to be just as confident to ask for the payment. So
one of the things that we did very early on was when you talk about make it easy for people to pay. We had someone ring up the other day, and they're a small business, and they say, "Can we pay on a credit card?" And we actually had it. We've got a non-person. It's a credit card facility that works through PayPal. So we can, the person doesn't have to be there to actually tap their card on the machine and things like that. And we've collected money in a number of instances through that mechanism, purely by, when we started up working out, well, how is it that people pay? And it's not all corporates that want to pay. We got sent a check.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
not long ago. And we went, what are we going to do with this?
Well, here's the thing, Tim, to that point. Because there are still small businesses that deal with checks. Number 1, here's a tip for the audience: make sure you have a business checking account.
Yeah.
Please make sure you have a business checking account. Please make sure you have so here's some free advice. Make sure you have articles of organization that say your business is legally set up to do business in the state. Number 1. Number 2, you need an employer identification number. I say it this way: the employer identification number is the social security number for your business, like you have your personal one. And number 3, please go to your bank or to your credit union and get a business checking account. Now, as much as we do a ton of things electronically, through Square and Stripe and PayPal and ACH and EFT and credit cards, there are still some businesses in the world that are old school, and they write checks, and you need to be able to take that check and actually, obviously take it to your bank, and of course they'll check it and confirm that it's real and not counterfeit. But the point is that there's some businesses that have not transferred over to technology, and they still believe in doing business old school, which means they do a check. But if you have a business checking account, the bank or credit union will be able to run it through the system and confirm this is a legitimate check or not.
We had to go and queue up in the bank to get it. We couldn't work out a way of getting it cashed, and they're a big organization. Just because big organizations doesn't mean they're actually slick and up to date.
Right.
And one of the things that we've certainly found working with big organizations is that actually they quite often have very cumbersome processes. Where you have to, you must have used a Reba at some shape at some time, where you have to go in and set up your details on their system.
Yes.
And they've got some questions. I don't do it, but I get told this by the person who does it, to say, I don't know what this what do you think this question means? And I say, I haven't got a clue. Well, let's guess. Okay. Well, and sometimes it's taken 2 months just to get ourselves set up on the system.
Yeah, because basically, so what you're talking about, so some people may not know this. So what you're talking about is being entered into your client's portal as a vendor, so they can actually process your payments. And what Tim is talking about is that sometimes everybody's system is not step 1, step 2, step 3. A lot of times it's information that they want to confirm that let's say are you certified? They may ask you, are you?
There might be something question about the insurance or something.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And so these are things the reason Tim and I are talking about this is because these are things that can actually hold up your payments if you're not set up properly in the system. And so, so this goes back again to problem solving. So if you're not set up properly in your customer system, one of the things would be quality control. As you answer all the questions, you basically want to see a check mark by all the boxes, because then it'll say basically the account is set up correctly, and that way basically you're able to receive payments, do the work and then build them and then receive payments. So that's another part of collecting cash, because all the things, because everybody thinks that it's a really just basically just submit it, hit a button, and we're done. And they're like, no, especially as you're dealing with systems, number 1, but you're also dealing with people. And sometimes, there are people that, it's a pleasant experience, and other times it can be very challenging. And you've got to be able to juggle both. And the thing is, if you hone your problem solving skills, your relationship building skills, I believe in providing good customer service, and I also believe in doing gratitude. Gratitude is one of those things. It's one of those intangibles. But I believe I say it this way: your customers have a choice with who they do business with. When you let them know you appreciate them, that's one of those things that separates you. For example, during the holiday season, most companies, small, medium, large, send out holiday cards. And what do they say at the bottom? Thank you for your business. It's just it's a small thing, but it means a lot. And I just believe that when you express your gratitude to your customer, you can even actually do it on the bottom of your invoice. They'll tell you, thank you for your business, or thank you for your payment, or thank you for the sale. What are they doing? They're planting the seed. They recognize you could spend your time doing business with somebody else, but the fact that you've chosen us, we want to show you that we value you.
And I think it's really key, Dee, and I agree with you, which is spending that time, because ultimately what you're doing is that you go in front of that, you're front of mind for that individual. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've forgotten about that. Oh yeah, we've got a project of that coming up. I need to give them a call. It's that sort of thing that you're looking for.
Yes, for sure, definitely.
Dee, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. We've gone into quite a lot of detail, and I really appreciate that, because it is so important. I mean, as a CEO, and as a board of, we have our own cash flow process that we've set up.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that I've sold accounting systems all my life, so I'm not an accountant, but I know quite a lot about accounting.
Yes,
because I've spent a lot of time with accountants, so I understand the receivables process and stuff like that. But it is so critical as a small business to be collecting cash.
Oh, it is.
And it's great that you're out there and you're evangelizing about this.
Thank you. And first of all, again, Tim, thank you so much to you and to DLA Ignite.
You're
also,
welcome.
one more reminder. Listen, there's a book. I actually wrote a book. I wrote a book about this, so I'm going to do a shameless plug and tell you, if you're a small business and you're struggling with your AR, come get my book. It's called Collect the Cash, and please visit www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book. I give you the scripts on what to say when you're to your customers on how to deal with this, because it's one of those people who say, I would rather get a root canal than have to go ask somebody for some money. So I give you I give you how to have this conversation, and then I also talk about the mindset, because you have to get yourself in the right frame of mind to collect the cash.
That's awesome, because quite often people go, yeah, I understand when you need to do that, but what do I say?
Right,
and the fact that you've got the scripts means that you're so that's fantastic. And Dee, thank you so much. My usual question is to say, where can people find you, but you've already said it. So and you're active on LinkedIn, aren't you? So
I am. Yeah, you can connect with me definitely. If you're a small business owner and you've got AR issues or AR questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy we can do a quick call and we'll talk about the issues and then figure out what are the next steps you need to do, for sure.
Dee, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Tim. Cheers.
And thanks for getting the memo.
Thanks for getting the memo on the purple shirts. Yes.